Hi guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Has everybody joined in or are there some people else remaining?
Purva, I guess we can start until everybody joins.
Okay. Just a moment. Okay. So, hi everybody. Good evening and welcome to this week's Policy Manthan discussion. And as we all know, the topic of this week's Policy Manthan discussion is mental health in the context of education in India. And firstly, I would like to begin today's discussion by a quote by Albert Einstein, and I quote, "Education is what remains after one is forgotten, what one has learned in school." So, as we all know, the importance of education and the importance that education holds in the building up of an individual. So, but what if a child's formative years are shadowed by mental health issues and other issues such as anxiety and depression and other mental health issues which are not very frequently seen or acknowledged? And we all know that mental health is a very important part of the overall well-being of any human being or any individual. And more so, it is important for the development of any child, because if they have good mental health, so that way they would be able to navigate better throughout their school and colleges and further in their professional lives. So, as we all know that the data regarding mental health is very limited, but WHO says that close to 10% children and adolescents worldwide face mental health issues, and India is no exception. So, let us start today's discussion by talking about various issues related to mental health and all other things which are associated with mental health and how different stakeholders and different things affect mental health issues. So, I would request all of you to drop in your name, also the topic that you would want to be talking about in today's discussion. So, that would be really helpful. Yeah, guys. Okay, so I think we'll start with Adinath, and Adinath would be talking about rising the awareness regarding mental health issues and also looking at the best practices around the world for us to set a context so that we can look at how India is performing and what India has done, particularly in the case of mental health with respect to education in India. So yes, Adinath, you can go.
Let me start with the raising awareness. The topic I would be speaking on, raising awareness about mental health. Now, mental health is a very important aspect of our life, and we don't know or we don't understand its importance unless something grave happens. And in society, similarly, what happens is mental issues are generally neglected because there is a lot of social stigma. So there are some points I have noted down to raise awareness. So the first point is educating the public. Now, providing information and resources to the public about mental health can help increase and understand and reduce the stigma. So if we are able to reduce stigma, then only people will come up and they will be able to accept that they have some mental problem or stress they are facing, and they can then opt for a solution. And they can involve hosting, like people can involve in hosting workshops, talks, or other events to share information about mental health and mental illness. Then second most important point which I found is currently this era is an era of social media. Even Elon Musk has said, and then even various entrepreneurs like Ambani had said that data is the new oil. So if we harness that data and if we engage in the media, social media, because social media is playing a very vital role in current context. So engaging in media, working with the media to share stories and information about mental health can really help to reach wider audience and raise awareness about these issues. So generally what has happened is after the proliferation of digitalization, the attention span of people have reduced. So social media can act, social media can make snippets, small snippets, small stories, so that they can increase the wider reach of audience. After that, partnering with schools and other organizations. Now this can play a vital role because school is the fundamental doorstep where children really understand the basic fundamental concepts. So if we imbibe that with partnering with NGOs and other civil society organizations, then it can really be successful. After that, we can really uh, put a or have a grave impact on the civil society by participating or promoting events and campaigns. And this would be like days like World Mental Health Day. Then after that, we can raise awareness to that. And looking at the global best practices, there are various global best practices, and they are in countries like UK. There is an initiative called Time to Change, and which aims to reduce stigma and discrimination surrounding mental health by sharing stories and information about mental health and mental illness. After that, the Heads Up campaign that is in Australia, which uses range of resources and initiatives to promote mental health and well-being among young people. After that, we have a mental health first aid program in US, which trains individuals to recognize the signs of mental health issues and provide support to those in need. So contextualizing this issue in Indian context, there are various factors which I have pointed, like I have noted down, and they are number one is stigma. Then after that, lack of access to quality mental health care, and one of the most uh, important thing that was exemplified was pandemic, where people faced mental health issues because of lack of socialization. Then poverty and inequality will surely contribute to lack of quality healthcare. After that, cultural and traditional beliefs. Generally, in India, there is a lot of stereotyping regarding this, and people are very negligent, or they are reluctant to accept that mental health is really a problem with the people. So that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, hi. Thank you so much, Adinath, for such an insightful information about raising awareness, how what can be done to raise awareness. Also, the fact that you talked about the best practices from other countries really sets a context, because obviously we need to be looking at what other countries are doing worldwide. And also the very important fact that you mentioned about pandemic, because pandemic has to be taken care of while we are talking about mental health, because pandemic in general has accelerated mental health issues for a lot of the people. And when it comes to people with less resources, so tackling mental health becomes a challenge which most of the time goes unnoticed, or people don't really want to take care of. So that was a really nice discussion. So moving forward, let's hear about some data sets from Kinori. So she would be talking about data sets about regarding mental health, especially with respect to students, so that we will know how many students or what percentage of our school going or college going students face mental health issues.
Yes, good evening. So before I begin, I would like to say that originally from our freedom struggle also, education was meant to free people and emancipate people. So stalwarts like Savitribai Phule or Rabindranath Tagore, they had envisioned education as a path for freedom and emancipation. And I think we all know about the Vishwabharati University in Shantiniketan. It was made to help students learn in the true sense of it. I would like to quote from I would like to say a quote by an alumni, Mahashweta Devi, who said that who studied in Vishwabharati, who said that no activity is worthless. Now, in today's generation, especially in India, we have very strict, very strong mindsets about what is good and what is bad. And many students are encouraged by their parents to study science and commerce and not arts. So now I would move on to saying few of the data sets which were actually shocking when I first read. that in 2020, the National Crime Record Bureau said that a student took their life every 42 minutes and 34 students died every day. And in 2021, this was when the peak of pandemic, the World Health Organization reported that India was the most depressed country in the world, and 1 in 6 children and between the ages 10 to 19 years suffered from depression. So now such kind of numbers are concerning and triggering, and it also not only creates a bad image for the country, but also we know that India is a young population, and therefore if so many people are dying, then our future is at stake as a country. And as recent as 2022 January to March, NCRT also took out a data set saying that 3.8 lakh students across the country faced frequent mood swings, and 81% of it was caused because of education. And I would like to add upon on what Adinath said, that students don't have access to proper mental health counselors, because in India there are less than 4,000 mental health professionals. And lastly, I would also like to talk about what causes these kind of what causes students to take such courses. Is that the biggest concerns of students nowadays is grades, career, social status, and meeting familial expectations. And it is a well-known fact that Indian education system is result-oriented. I do not exclude myself from that. And it is failure is not acknowledged. And lastly, I would also like to talk about the fact that students who identify themselves in the LGBTQ community, they face discrimination at a multi-dimensional level, not just from education, but they do not have any immediate support from family. They are mocked by society and sometimes even their friends. And so they also require support. And I wanted to say 1 or 2 points, because Adinath mentioned about awareness. Something that can be done, which I feel, is putting posters on buses and autos. These are the most common vehicles we see on the road. And this is something which can help at least spread the and help people acknowledge that mental health is an issue and that it should not be taken as a trivial matter. And I would also like to talk about a campaign which Horlicks had taken out. It was called Fearless Quota. In this campaign, Horlicks had changed its ideal box packaging into different types of things. And in each of the box, it was written that, I mean, even if the box doesn't look the same, it doesn't mean the content has changed. So therefore, parents should accept their children the way they are, and only then can we move ahead. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, thank you so much, Hindori, for such important statistics, because obviously because of the dearth of data sets on mental health issues which students face, it is very important to put a context by quoting out such important data. And also the fact that you mentioned LGBTQ community, because most of the time they get neglected in the mainstream discussion because of being marginalized. So it is also very important to put in their needs about how they would be facing mental health issues, because for them mental health issues are not just limited to issues with respect to education or their grades or academic pressure, but they also face other issues. So it is very important to also take in care of the needs of LGBTQ community. All right. So now next we would be moving to Swarali. She's going to talk about policies in India for mental health education. And also, Chandralekha also wants to talk about existing policies and suggestions. So I think we would start with Swarali's discussion on policies in India for mental health education, and thereafter we can move to Chandralekha, who can add on and she can suggest some suggestions.
Okay. In respect to the Indian context, I would like to highlight the data by Indian Council of Medical Research, which in its survey, it revealed that 12 to 13% of students in India suffer from psychological, emotional, and behavioral conditions. And the recent NCRT survey has also revealed that 80% of students, school students in India, have reported anxiety and depression due to their academic pressure and exams and other factors like peer pressure, or economic deprivation and family issues, etc. So India has acknowledged the importance of mental health since early times, and it has launched the National Mental Health Program in 1982 itself. And under it, the District Mental Health Program, it specifically deals with the components of counseling in schools and colleges, which deals with the students. The Ministry of Education, it has also taken an initiative called Manodarpan. So Manodarpan, it includes a variety of activities which provide psychological support to teachers, students, and their families during the COVID outbreak and also after. Then the CBSE provides pre and post examination telecounseling facilities through a toll-free helpline to help students deal with the exam stress. And under the Ayushman Bharat's school health program scheme, NCRT has launched a specific package which deals with emotional well-being and mental health among students. And it has also launched early guidelines to detect mental health issues. Apart from that, the Ministry of Education on September 2022 recently has launched a modular handbook for early identification of mental health issues, and yeah, that is the that so many initiatives have taken by the government of India, and but despite so many efforts, there is still long way for India to go with respect to the mental health. It is important for us to bring in more inclusivity and remove the stigma around it. Thank you.
Yeah, hi. So now Chandrika would be talking about the suggestions and also some of the existing policies if she wants to add on to the discussion done by Swarali.
Am I audible?
Yes. No, hi, Chandrika, you're not audible. Your mic is on mute.
Now am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll add some existing policies about child and adolescent mental health policies in India. So India has no as such comprehensive policy for child and adolescent mental health in India. But if we look at before independence, we have a Indian Council for Mental Health Hygiene in 1940s. And after UPA government, that is in 2014, we have National Mental Health Policy, which provided a little emphasis on mental illness among our young population. And if we look at the state level, so state data is very poor. Most states lack an explicit policy, except Kerala, which adopted an intent to improve mental health. And in 2014 also, government started Rashtriya Kishore Swasthya Karyakram, which was an initiative of government, was conceptualized by the government of India. And this program is a landmark to improve overall adolescent health at the national level. But it has several limitations to address the mental health in child and adolescent. Despite of such policies in India, only 0.06% of the total national health budget is allocated to mental health, which is even lower than average mental health budget of low income countries. So I think these are some existing policies. And as a student of political science, suggestions are to for better policy development for child and adolescent mental health. So there are, I think, 5 processes in every policy development. So first process is problem identification. This is a very basic process in policy development. So I think government should estimate child and adolescent mental health burden in the state and at national level also through extensive research from researchers, or they can conduct some surveys also. Second process is policy analysis. So analyzing the strength and weaknesses of existing policies and programs for mental health is also very important. Third process is recommendation from strategic planning and policy development, which means creating vision for mental health awareness and values or some action plans also at educational institutions level. Fourth process is policy enactment, which is the second last process in policy development, which focus on action areas in the legal and also socio-cultural context at the state level and at the also union territories level. And last and most important thing, I think, where India lacks is the policy implementation. So government and private stakeholders also should improve the building blocks of health system to implement policies of child and adolescent mental health in India. And last, very important suggestion is government should integrate child and adolescent mental health services in primary healthcare services. So that's from my side. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chandrika. Also, the very important point that Chandrika has pointed out in our discussion was the data about the percentage of GDP spent on mental health awareness or mental health, dealing with mental health issues in India is very low and very minimal. And as a government, it is very important for the government to be increasing this amount because obviously of the rising mental health issues, because considering India's population and other challenges that are associated with such high population, it is very high likelihood that the mental health issues are gonna be on rise. So it is very important for the government to be raising for spending much more money on dealing with mental health issues. Okay, so now moving on. Now we have Kriti. She will be talking about prevention of mental disorders at schools using problem solving and communication skills.
Hi, can everybody hear me now?
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah, so I would like to begin with an incident that took place 13 days ago and was rather tragic. So 13 days ago, three aspirants in India's hub of coaching institutions, that is Kota, committed suicide. So that is how we understand how mental health becomes important in context of educational institutions. Now, before I begin, basically, I'm going to talk about a few analytic points which hold importance when we talk about the mental health issues, specifically in educational context. So mental health, first of all, doesn't necessarily imply an absence of mental disorders, but it should include emotional, psychological, and social well-being. And we are going to talk about a particular group which is affected by mental disorders, and these are children and youth. So young people should develop the ability to navigate through social, emotional, cognitive, behavioral tasks at different development stages. And this particular process is called development competency, that an individual who is still growing should be able to navigate through these stages. But when these factors are adversely affected, then the development is hindered. And the risk factors affecting the development of a young person at individual level could be the gender, like female, or somebody like mentioned LGBTQ. It could be that. Early puberty, difficult temperament, inflexibility, low self-esteem, perceived incompetency, anxiety, dysthymia, insecure attachment, poor social skills like lack of problem-solving skills or lack of communication skills, or the extreme need for approval or social anxiety. And under worse circumstances, it could be as aggravate as favor taking some favorable attitudes towards drugs or head injury or marijuana and so on. And at an institution level, for an example, school, the risk factors which can affect the development of a young person may be peer rejection, stressful events, poor academic achievement, poverty, school level stressful or traumatic events, school violence, and so on. Now, I would like to move forward by stressing the importance of problem solving. That is one of the risks affecting the development of an individual. So there is this foundation called White Swan Foundation, which claims to be at least one of the largest repositories of mental health care statistics and data in India. So they focus on two things: problem solving and communication. Now, problem solving is an issue which can be very easily addressed at school level. Like they can serve as a platform, as they can make this mental health care understanding more accessible to every individual at an early age. And they can also work on development competencies, because they can at an early age intervene and prevent the onset of a mental disorder. Now, the second thing is sensitizing. Now, they can also sensitize by spreading the knowledge, but at an early age, introducing it in the curriculum at schools at an early age, and this would expand the vocabulary. Now, what happens is that a child, even if they feel something, they might fail to express themselves because they are unable to find the proper vocabulary to do so. So when we are sensitizing, we are ensuring that we are imparting the proper vocabulary to do it. And this is also sort of a promotion of healthcare. And in Delhi in 2018, there was this happiness curriculum introduced in the education school, the entire education system. So what they did was that they were imparting life skills. For them, the understanding of life skill means that communication skills, gender sensitivity. So through this, they made sure that they are going to prevent some of the risk factors, if not all, that may lead to aggravating the mental status of a person. Throughout, I also came across one thing, like somebody was mentioning, I guess Adinath was mentioning how in his topic that through snippets and stories, we can communicate the ideas of mental health, right? But at the same point of time, he mentioned that it reduces the attention span. The problem is, Adinath, that we know that attention span of the current generation is already very reactive. They might not be sitting for a long period of time, and they wait to watch something very short. But if we are introducing the topic of mental health through something very similar, like snippets and stories, don't you think that it's like canceling the very thing? Like it might aggravate the attention span even further. It will shorten it even further. It might be beneficial for some time, but I think it in long run it won't be so effective. Thank you.
Yes. So yeah, we can have a discussion on the question raised by Kriti afterwards, and the end if we have some time. Also, okay. So now, also thank you so much, Kriti, for such an insightful discussion. Also, the fact that you talked about expanding the vocabulary, because obviously that is very important, and that is all we have also faced as growing up, because nobody really taught what this feeling means or what that feeling means and how do you describe what you're going through. So that becomes very difficult to navigate further, because you're going through something and then you're not able to describe this to other people. You just say, I'm not feeling well, but that is not the fact. That is not the reality. Because in order to other people to understand and also to find proper solutions what the other person is going or what the child is going, it is very important for them to have a proper vocabulary so that they can express themselves in much better and much more comprehensive way. So that was a very important point that you've raised. So now moving forward, as we all know that the effects of COVID-19 pandemic are very high, and still a lot of people are going through the effects of COVID-19 pandemic. So we would be moving to Shrishta. She's going to be talking about problem analysis, basically an emphasis on COVID-19 pandemic and some suggestions for India. But before moving on to Shrishta, I would like to request all of you to please switch on your cameras. So that would be really helpful. So yes, Shrishta, you can go forward.
Thank you, Purva. Good evening, everyone. Not sure if you're able to see me. My camera is currently glitching. I apologize for the issue. My inputs will majorly be statistic. According to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, it is estimated that 6 to 7% of the population suffers from mental disorders. In a major report released on 17th June 2022, the World Health Organization estimated that 1 in every 8 individuals worldwide suffers from mental disorder, urging for immediate action to change mental health care. In sum, mental health illness constitutes for 15% of the global disease burden. As per a report by the World Health Organization, India has one of the world's largest populations of people with mental issues in one shape or another. In short, mental health comprises one of the most urgent challenges that India is facing at the moment. Quite contradicting, however, to this is the acceptance to the issue, the reasons for which have been rightly put by Adityanath and Kinori at the beginning of the discussion. UNICEF report of 2021 read that children in India seem reticent to seek support for mental stress. According to a survey conducted by UNICEF in early 2021, with 20,000 children and adults in 21 countries, only 41% of the young people between 15 to 24 years of age in India said that it is good to get support for mental health problems, compared to an average 83% of the 21 other countries. In fact, India was the only one of the 21 countries where only a minority of young people felt that people experiencing mental health issues should reach out to others. In every other country, a majority of young people, ranging from 56 to 95%, felt that reaching out was the best way to deal with mental health issues. The report noted that this situation was aggravated during the COVID-19 pandemic in India. The impact on children and young people's mental health constitutes to weigh heavily during that time. Through the pandemic, children have had limited access to support from social services due to lockdown measures, basically. The figures were also confirmed by the dropout rates during COVID. Rural and underdeveloped areas did not witness a smooth transition to the digital learning platforms and digital schooling, which added to the stress of the children, who were also witnessing the irreversible damages caused by the pandemic to their close ones and relatives. According to the data from UNESCO, over 286 million children up to grade 6 were out of school in India between 2020 and 21. UNICEF's rapid assessment in 2021 found that only 60% could access digital classrooms. Many would not be able to continue their education because of this. A mental health intervention through programs like School Mental Health Program have been recommended for India by WHO. Apart from this, several non-government organizations working towards supporting the digital education while trying to bridge the gap between the online teaching learning for students and individual efforts could also prove beneficial towards addressing the issue. That was all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shrishta. Thank you for your inputs regarding important data sets. Also, with respect to COVID-19, how COVID-19 has heightened the rise of mental health issues, especially among the school-going children, because obviously we all lacked access to our friends and other physical spaces. Those were basically a space for recreation or learning and other things. But as we were restricted to our homes, the mental health issues arose because people did not have any channels for communication and other things. So obviously the effects of COVID-19 are here to stay, especially with respect to mental health illness. And it is very important to be taking the effect of COVID-19 per se. And now we would be basically moving on to suggestions and how to raise awareness and other things with respect to mental health issues, because it is very important to also raise awareness that so that people are aware. Also, people acknowledge that there is something called as mental health issues, because as a lot of you have pointed out that a lot of people, a lot of students, especially in India, are reluctant to seek some support, seek some form of therapy or some form of support. So yes, now we would be moving to Kritika. She would be talking about some suggestions to incorporate mental health awareness in schools specifically. Yes, Pritika, please go ahead. Is she there? I think we've lost connect to Pritika. So yes, is there anybody remaining who would want to be speaking on this topic, or maybe something associated to mental health and school, or maybe education in general, or something else which is related to our topic? I hope I've not left anybody. Or
I'm
yes,
left.
yes, Catherine, please.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes.
So many great points have already been covered. What I try to find out is what are the existing government policies and how can we improve on it and create more awareness. So, like already mentioned, there are a few existing policies like the National Mental Health Program, Mental Health Care Act, National Mental Health Policy. So, what I've noticed is that these are all generic policies that they address all age groups and all categories of the population. There is no specific policy only for children, and there needs to be a separate policy because children are very different from adults, so we need to cater to their unique needs. And also the another problem is with the implementation of these policies. Two problems, major problems, is underutilization of funds, and also the people that are stakeholders involved, they're not very.
Hi, Catherine.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
uh,
Maybe you
so
can, yes, yes, continue.
the people or the stakeholders involved are they not very enthusiastic or aggressive about implementing the policies. I will just connect back in 2 minutes.
All right. I think Catherine is facing some issue with her internet connectivity. So, is there anybody else who would like to be speaking about, or I guess I've not missed anybody of you who have put in their names in the chat box. And in case if I've missed somebody, so please guys raise your hand and just speak about whatever you want to speak. Kushi, have you spoken about?
Yes, I haven't spoken. I was just coming to that. You missed my name, actually.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, all right, continue.
I just wanted to talk about how we can improve mental health, how students without any policies, how one can himself or herself can try and boost their mental health. So the first would be to take a proper diet. Like as we students, we don't have breakfast, we just skip breakfast, we just have coffee and just go off to college or something. So that's the main point. Like to improve mental health for students is to inculcate the habit of eating the right food and nourishing the body. The proper diet, eating a nutritious, well balanced diet rich in fats, fiber, and nutrients can help you manage your stress and anxiety actually. And it will also enhance the sleep, improve your memory, and make you feel better overall. So the next would be to stay connected with your friends. And due to pandemic, we could not physically meet them, and it affected a great deal on our mental health. So connecting with people and maintaining a healthy lifestyle, it is important for that. Now coming to the next is to be active. Now since it was COVID, we just laid on our beds and scrolled through Instagram and stuff. So that was not at all right, because it is, to be active, it is necessary to improve our mental health, because all these practices like just being on a screen all day are deteriorating the physical health and also our mental health. So maintaining a active lifestyle, like through sports, long walks, yoga, anything which a person enjoys, reduces stress and anxiety while also improving one's self-esteem. So also it was shocking to me when I read that it says spending some time in the sunlight also benefits our mental health. The reason for this is there is an hormone known as serotonin, which enhances our mood, promote feelings of calm, and improves our attention. And it is elevated by exposure to sunlight. So spending some time outside on a daily basis to soak up an energizing rays of sunlight help elevating sadness, tension, and worry. The next I would like to discuss is to take a proper sleep schedule, maintaining a sleeping schedule, which most of us do not because of our deadlines and stuff like that. So it is said that we should have a proper sleeping cycle of 7 to 8 hours, and it links to our physical and mental both. There is some lack of sleep can intensify pre-existing conditions including depression, stress, and anxiety. Getting adequate sleep every night and going to bed early or at a decent hour is an excellent approach for living a healthy and happy life. The last one would be to try some mental health exercises ourselves, to try and meditating and some breathing exercise, because some of the best mental health exercises are laughing out loud or meditating or sketching or stretching or anything in which you feel that a sense of calm or happiness. Thank you.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much, Kushi. Because obviously, while talking about other greater issues, we often miss out on the smaller things that we can do, such as having a proper sleep, having a proper diet, or maybe just going out and enjoying some time in sun. So that is very important for us to be just not just limiting ourselves and not just self-isolating ourselves in our rooms or in our homes. It is very important for us to be moving out, having some form of community, having we connect with our friends. So those things really help. So yes, I think Adinath has raised his hand. Yes, Adinath.
Yes, I just wanted to add some points to what Khushi said. Actually, like things she mentioned about hormones. There is a research backstory that if you want to overcome mental health challenges, then if you are overthinking or frustrated or angry, then you can write down. If you're anxious, then you can meditate. If you're tired, then take a power nap. If you're saturated, then you can go for recreation, change of routine, hobby. If you are sad, you can exercise. If you are stressed, you can listen to music or you can walk. If you are lazy, reduce the screen time. After that, if you are burned out, then you can watch a movie. So this is what I have found. And also importance of expansion of vocabulary, what Kirti said. Like even I didn't know what is difference between depression and anxiety. So depression is you are ruminating about the past, and anxiety is about ruminating about future. So we can all be focused on the present, because it is a gift. That's why it's called present.
All right. Thank you so much, Adinath, for such a insightful, also a very light discussion. Now moving on to Chandralekha. Yes, Chandralekha.
Yes, I want to add up that when I was in fifth standard, my father and my father and I made this deal that my father said you should take any sports like athletics or badminton, and you should take 3 mental health rest days before your every semester examination. So I think parents should do this a small activity for their children.
Yes, I think it is very important to be for parents to be taking care of other needs of their children as well, because most often, especially in India, as some of you pointed out, that we are a great focus society, that people force the students to be studying STEM education or maybe just having good grades. So it is very important for parents to be making aware their children about other sports and also encouraging their children on their wards to be participating in different activities, because obviously you never know what some children or some child is good at, or maybe just as a part of refreshing activity. So that really helps. Okay, so now we have Katie. She would like to add something. Yes, Katie.
Yes. So basically, I just want to add on to it that we need to make physical well-being discrete and very different from mental well-being. But when we are talking about the physical activities contributing to maintain the mental well-being, we might actually end up overlapping the physical well-being with the mental well-being. Like, I agree with all the points that have been raised here, because it's very important to keep yourself physically active in order to keep your mental well-being intact, right? But at the same point of time, there are conditions when damage has already been done and the mental disorder have already been out of their onset and are actually developed. Now they've been identified, the symptoms are being seen. In those circumstances, when one has already been exposed to it, it's very important that we recognize how different mental health and physical health are, and the trauma needs to be treated. And when a person is mentally already traumatized, a child has already been mentally traumatized, we not only should talk about the prevention of that mental disorder, but also how to treat that mental disorder. Suppose if that has been reached once. So suppose if somebody is already traumatized, I don't think physical activities can be of much benefit then, but there could be some other like hardcore mental activities that we could be discussing on other than just the prevention when it comes to it and the person has already been exposed to trauma. That's it.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much, Katie, for for raising such an important point. So, moving on from what Katie has said, I would like to ask all of you a very important question. How do we remove the stigma around the mental health issues? Because nobody really talked about removing the stigma around mental health issues, and how it is very important for us as a society, and especially for school going students, not just students who are in very good private colleges or schools or in very good government schools per se, because government schools are also good, but also for the vulnerable students. So how do we deal with removing the stigma around mental health issues so that the students, the children are encouraged to be speaking freely about the mental health issues that they're undergoing? So maybe when they're at the very minimal stage, or when the mental health issues are just beginning, so that we can deal with them in a proper and in a holistic manner. So yes, guys, who would like to be going first?
Can I start?
Yeah, sure.
For schools going children, one thing is we had this recently in 2022 we had the new education policy come up. So in that we can add one of the important aspect is digital well-being and mental health. So that can be done, and also to Indianize that, we can have a collaboration with some organizations like we have Isha Foundation of Sadhguru or Art of Living of Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. So if we collab with the civil society organization, then that can really work wonders. And if we put subject like meditation in the school itself, so the student don't have to come home and do something else, because mental health is a intrinsic part of some everyone's life. So it can't be done in silos. It must be done in tandem.
Yes. Okay. So now we have Kindori as well. She would like to be adding on something.
Yeah, since you spoke about mental health awareness or the removing stigma in school students, I think one method is not just in students, we have to begin with parents. I think one method can be during parent-teacher meetings. This is something I've seen within my friend circle. The parents superimpose their dreams of becoming doctor and engineers on their students, and I have friends who, in my entire circle, I'm the only one who studies arts, and in my entire school there were 157 students, 3 students took arts. Now that shows a picture of, and that was a good school, and still parents had this notion that their students have to study science. And so I think one way is to have sessions about mental health with parents and sensitize them about these situations. And for students, maybe this can be on a lighter note, but maybe nowadays we have memes. Instead of just giving sarcastic memes, we can use that as a medium to spread information about mental health. Things which
Yeah.
appeal, so in short, things which appeal to people of our age.
Yes. Yeah, it is very important to be talking about removing stigma, and also how the mental health awareness starts with the parents, because obviously parents need to be sensitized enough to be understanding their children, because obviously there is generation gap. Their generation faced something else, and today's generation is filled with influx of information, a lot of which is fake news, a lot of which is just inducing fear in students and children. So it is very important to be sensitizing parents about mental health issues as well. Yes. So now Kirti would be talking about.
During our bachelor's, there was this concept that we would talk, and before I begin on that, I was very enthused about this topic given to us, that mental health in the context of educational institution, because it can spread awareness at a larger scale than we could even think of. So once an adult grows with a faith, it's very difficult to change it. But suppose if we impart that very basic faith in the preliminary years of an individual, that actually becomes very strong as they grow up. So this concept that I'm going to talk about, which was taught to us during bachelor's, was bad faith. So what is basically a bad faith? Bad faith is a faith that you have upon a thing or a belief that you build gradually, which may be influenced by the intersection of societal norms or cultural norms. But these beliefs or faiths do not really have any functionality in the world. So when you remove these bad faiths, you come across the reality. Now, but the thing that I want to stress upon is that how do you come in terms with these bad faiths? Because you have been taught this since you were a child, maybe from the different sources. Similarly, we can use this concept to impart the meaning of health, mental health, right? So once you introduce every concept of mental well-being or the vocabulary of mental well-being at an early age of a child, it becomes a very intrinsic part of you. You develop an understanding of it. You understand it more discreetly or clearly than maybe what we do. Suppose if even if I put myself at that position, if I was taught about everything related to mental health at an earlier age, maybe I would not have been here what I am right now. Maybe I could have been anything better. So the basic idea is that you introduce that faith at a rather early age to a child, so that he develops an understanding of it, and if something wrong comes to him, he can defend himself or she can defend himself. So that was it.
Yes, it is very important to be educating the children from the beginning itself, because obviously, as Katie said, that once an individual grows, it is very difficult to change their viewpoint or change their understanding of self. So, as the child is growing, we should inculcate and we should try and inculcate the positive aspects, and also be educating them about different mental health issues they might be undergoing or they might undergo, or different kinds of things associated with mental health. So yes, now Chandralekha would be going forward.
Yes, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. So I think my point is that involving the children and adolescent individually or collectively in making the decisions regarding such programs on mental health or plans. I can't recall her name, but in USA, there is a group of students, and because of them, USA government brought a bill on child and adolescent mental health. So I think if more children will collectively participate or individually participate in decision making, so it's become more effectful, I think.
Yes. Thank you so much, Chandralekha. Does anybody has anything else to say or to add on? No one? Yes, all right. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating in today's discussion. We had a really nice discussion. How we got to know that how a large number of students per se in India, especially the NCRT survey, which revealed that close to 81% of these students are having some form of anxiety, depression due to academic pressure, or the pressure related to their future and future, etc. And how at least 10 to 12% of the Indian students, as per ICMR survey, face different sorts of mental health issues, ranging from behavioral, psychological, and other issues. And how it is very important to understand and to contextualize mental health issues with respect to different communities, different vulnerable communities, because different aspects, for example, poverty has a very important role to play in the mental health problems that a lot of people face, especially from the vulnerable sections. And also how it is very important to also acknowledge the needs of the LGBTQ community, because of course, LGBTQ people do not just face the mental health issues with respect to their education. For them, mental health issues arise because of other social vulnerability. So that is also very important to put in context. And how a lot of you also talked about different schemes and different policies that the government of India has undertaken, and how other countries are also dealing with mental health issues, and also talking about the best practices from different countries, ranging from Australia to US to UK and other countries. And also, it is very important to understand at home that how our government is doing and how the government is trying to implement different aspects as to improve the mental health and mental well-being of the students. But also, it is very important for us to acknowledge that the spending that the government spends on mental health or on raising mental health awareness is very minimal. As somebody has rightly pointed out, that the budget that the government spends on mental health issues is very minimal. And coming from that, picking up from that, it is also very important that we understand the basic issues that undergo in making our children aware about mental health issues. It is very important also to introduce a sort of vocabulary and to make the students and the children aware of the vocabulary, existing vocabulary with respect to mental health, because without having proper terms to describe what you're going through, it becomes very difficult to express yourself, express the needs that you've been express the needs that you might be needing. So lastly, I would like to be talking about the mental health bill that the government of India has passed. Basically, as we all know that earlier, if somebody tried committing suicide, so that was criminalized sort of. But now the government is understanding that somebody does not want to commit suicide just because they don't want to live anymore. They are also understanding how mental health issues play a role. So if somebody is facing a lot of mental health and that person tries to commit suicide, that is basically decriminalized now. So yes, thank you so much everybody for participating in the discussion, and I really appreciate how you all participated in today's discussion. Yes, thank you so much. Just a moment, guys.
Everybody can wait for just 2 minutes, okay? I guess we can stop the recording.
Yes, Ria.
Yeah, you can stop the recording so like we can get off the live stream.
I'm just trying to figure it out. Just a moment. I think Sarah started.